A 15-year-old kid, 9 alleged bodies, and a rap star who walked out of court a free man. That contrast still splits Baton Rouge in half. Before he could legally drive, before he could vote, before most teenagers even think about consequences beyond the weekend, Michael Marlo Mike Louding was accused of carrying out multiple targeted killings. Prosecutors said he was paid around $2,000 per hit. Do the math. Roughly $18,000 total. Not wealth, not security, not freedom. Just enough money to feel powerful at 15. But this story isn't just about a teenager, and it isn't just about a rapper. It's about influence, about environment, about how power moves quietly through neighborhoods long before it ever shows up in a courtroom. To understand how this even happened, you have to go back to Baton Rouge in the mid-2000s. The city was already tense, but after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, everything intensified. Thousands relocated, neighborhood lines blurred, rivalries sharpened, homicide rates climbed. The pressure in the streets felt constant. At the same time, rap music out of Baton Rouge was exploding. Lil Boosie, later known as Boosie Badazz, was rising fast. His records were raw, unfiltered, reflecting real street tension. Songs weren't just music. They were narratives about loyalty, beef, survival. As his fame grew nationally, attention back home grew too. Success doesn't erase conflict. Sometimes it amplifies it. Somewhere in that same city, a teenager was watching. Michael Louding wasn't famous. He wasn't powerful. He was a kid growing up in an environment where status meant everything. At 15, the brain isn't finished developing. The part responsible for long-term judgment and impulse control doesn't fully mature until the mid-20s. That's science. But in certain neighborhoods, childhood doesn't last that long. According to prosecutors, between 2009 and 2010, Marlo Mike was tied to 9 shootings. Investigators described them as targeted hits, not random acts. Identify the target, wait for the moment, execute, disappear. It sounded organized, almost clinical. And that's what made it so disturbing. Because behind those allegations was still a teenager. Was he acting alone? Was he trying to prove himself? Or was he influenced by older figures who understood exactly how to stay insulated? Then something happened that shocked both law enforcement and the streets. He walked into a police station and confessed, "Stop being rumors and start looking like stop being rumors and start looking like life behind bars. Panic changes people." Once he spoke, the case shifted overnight. Investigators had statements, timelines, names. A narrative they could build, and the spotlight turned towards someone much bigger. Boosie Badazz was charged in connection with multiple murders, including the 2009 killing of Terry Boyd. Prosecutors alleged he orchestrated violence while maintaining his music career. The stakes were enormous. If convicted, he was facing the possibility of the death penalty. The prosecution leaned heavily on testimony, including statements from the teenager. They argued there was coordination, motive, a pattern. The defense pushed back hard. They attacked credibility. They pointed out inconsistencies. They emphasized the lack of physical evidence directly tying the rapper to ordering any killings. No recordings, no proven money trail beyond doubt. In criminal court, doubt is everything. After weeks of testimony and intense media coverage, the verdict came down in 2012. Not guilty. Supporters celebrated outside the courthouse. Critics questioned the outcome. Baton Rouge argued for years about what justice looked like in that moment. But while one man returned to interviews, music, and stages, the teenager who confessed was facing a very different reality. At 16, Michael Louding was sentenced to life without parole. No release date, no second hearing scheduled decades later. Just prison for the rest of his natural life. He was sent to Angola, Louisiana State Penitentiary, one of the largest maximum security prisons in America. He arrived there as a teenager. At the time, Louisiana was among the toughest states when it came to juvenile sentencing. Across the country, thousands of people were serving life without parole for crimes committed as minors. The philosophy was simple. Some acts are so severe that age doesn't matter. But just months after his sentence, the ground shifted. In 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Miller v. Alabama that mandatory life without parole for juveniles violated the Eighth Amendment. Judges had to consider a child's age, background, and capacity for change before imposing the harshest punishment. Then in 2016, Montgomery v. Louisiana made that ruling retroactive. Suddenly, inmates sentenced as minors could seek new hearings. Hope spread across the country. Some juvenile lifers became eligible for parole after serving 25 years. Others remained in legal limbo, caught in technical debates over whether their sentences had been truly mandatory. And that's where this story gets even more complicated. Years later, activist and internet personality Charleston White began speaking loudly about the case. He built much of his public identity around juvenile justice reform. He argues that teenagers are often manipulated by older figures, used when convenient, then discarded when the system closes in. In his view, a 15-year-old serving life while powerful adults move freely represents something broken. That perspective reignited debate online. Some say the teenager made choices and must live with them. Others argue that influence at that age can't be ignored. When a young person grows up idolizing someone with fame, money, and status, the pull of approval can override caution. Psychologists call it authority influence. Adolescents are especially vulnerable to it. Street culture adds another layer. Loyalty is sacred. Silence is survival. So when rumors surface that Marlo Mike may be willing to cooperate further in hopes of a reduced sentence, opinions explode. Is it betrayal, or is it survival after spending your entire youth behind prison walls? Step back from the names for a second. This story reflects a pattern that shows up again and again in high-conflict environments. Older figures with status, younger boys searching for identity, power flowing in one direction. Legal responsibility and moral responsibility don't always align. Courts ask what can be proven beyond reasonable doubt. Communities ask who shaped the outcome. One man was acquitted, one teenager was condemned to die in prison. A city remains divided. So here's the question that still lingers. Should a crime committed at 15 define someone forever? Does influence reduce responsibility? Can a teenager who committed horrific acts ever truly change? The courts made one decision. The Supreme Court complicated it. Activists keep pushing. And somewhere inside Angola, the clock keeps ticking. This isn't just about guilt or innocence. It's about how we decide who gets a second chance and who doesn't.